خلیلی رئیس شورای عالی صلح افغانستان Excellency Ustad Khalili, the chair of the High Peace Council, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Under current circumstances, I want to commend all of you for participating and also concluding a very important event for Afghanistan, for this region, and for peace in our part of the world. Your participation, and especially I should also thank the members of the diplomatic community for their resolve in suggesting to us that this conference has to be held in Kabul. When those events took place a few days ago, we started consultations with our partners, members of the diplomatic community. They came with a unanimous voice, and they said that we should hold this conference in Kabul in order to give a unified and solid message to the terrorists and to the enemies of peace that the world, the partners of Afghanistan, together with the National Unity Government of Afghanistan, are together in quest for peace, at the same time in supporting the rightful efforts of the people of Afghanistan. You have achieved this in a city that just days ago underwent a barrage of attacks. A city, like other parts of our country, under attack that has experienced days, months, years of wanton bloodshed. A city where from street corners you can hear the muffled weeping of broken hearts, orphans, widows, mothers, fathers, brothers, and sisters who have lost a loved one as a result of terrorism, inhumanity, in conspiracies that go beyond their comprehension, and in some ways, in many ways, beyond our comprehension. I want to start these remarks by remembering all our citizens, our brothers and sisters in the civilian and security sector, whose lives were cut short by cowardly bombing, IEDs, rockets, or cold-blooded targeting. We pray for the martyrs and pay our homage to their families. This morning, there was a suicidal attack in Herat, which led to the martyrdom of 7 of our citizens, and many people were injured. That was in front of the big mosque in Herat, a historical mosque. In Ramadan, in the midst of Ramadan, this is another example of barbarity of our common enemies. This one, as well as the events which took place in Kabul, that exemplifies further the importance of our get-together today. A quest for peace from our partners in the region and beyond the region. As far as Afghanistan is concerned, the National Unity Government of Afghanistan, our resolve, our will, our determination to keep the door open and to make the right efforts for peace and reconciliation, that has not shaken by the cowardly attacks and barbaric attacks of terrorist groups, which has led to many sufferings of our people. I congratulate my friend, my brother, Ustad Khalili, for accepting a very important responsibility in helping us in High Peace Council by chairing the High Peace Council and leading the efforts for Afghan-led, Afghan-owned peace process, which hopefully it will lead to a just and durable peace for our people. We lost Professor Burhanuddin Rabbani, the former president of Afghanistan, the chair of the High Peace Council, in this throughout these efforts. That shows the commitment, the level of commitment of the Afghan people and Afghan politicians, Afghan political leaders, and we didn't stop by just, after that incident, the message should have gone out that we will not talk to these groups which have committed these terrorist actions. But what happened? Later on, his son took responsibility. Salahuddin Rabbani, the current foreign minister of Afghanistan, took responsibility for leading the High Peace Council. That is enough for proving our resolve and our determination that we are determined. We know we have suffered. Our people are suffering, days in and out. And yes, of course, the regional cooperation, the cooperation, sincere cooperation from the countries of the region, neighboring countries of Afghanistan, support from our international partners is crucial. And as it was reported to me, you have discussed different aspects of it. And hopefully, our hope is that Kabul process will remain as an umbrella. This is the first meeting, and soon after, we should work with our partners to decide about our next meeting, the timing and the venue, but this should serve as an umbrella for every other effort which has been underway so far, that hopefully it will lead us to durable peace in the course of time. In this meeting, Mr. Ghairat Bahir is present, representing Islamia of Afghanistan, led by Mr. Hikmatyar. We had met throughout different times, but recently in the past few months or years, in a process which was Afghan-led and Afghan-owned. There were a lot of suspicions, there were a lot of impediments in the way, and now we are sitting here with us rather than somewhere else. I think you didn't like it over there, yes? So that is an example that it is doable, and that's a message, a very practical message to our people, but to our partners and also to our neighbors, that we do want to achieve peace with those who are willing to enter the path of negotiation and reconciliation. For those who choose to follow the path of using terrorism as a means to achieving an end, we have no choice but to stand together, unified, against them, and fight, continue to tackle them, and to address the challenge together. To those who use suicide and terrorism as a means to an end, whether a part of complex geopolitical gaming or part of criminal conspiracies, be aware that you will eventually fail. We will seek justice in our resolve to fight for a unified, prosperous, and peaceful tomorrow will overcome your dark and evil intentions. To those who are manipulated, brainwashed, and used as a fodder, there is no reward awaiting the murder of innocent human beings. It is in this context today that I want to remember innocent victims of terrorism around the world, and most recently in London, where innocent human beings, regardless of creed, color, have become victims of what we know casually call terrorism. Our thoughts are with the victims, families, and your nations. Somebody reminded me, and also I remembered it very vividly, 6th of June was the day that I survived a suicidal attack 3 years back. This date, 3 years back, 1 week to the upcoming elections, second round of the elections, I was moving from one rally to the next, where my convoy was attacked by a car bomb and also a separate suicidal attack. I survived, but my friends didn't. I survived, but our nation, our people are paying the cost on daily basis. You listen to the story of Nargis Mohammadi this morning. This is not a standalone story. This is, unfortunately, daily life of our people. And it's there, once again, that I commend you for coming here and showing solidarity with the people of Afghanistan, not only to work together in order to achieve peace, but also to help Afghanistan to utilize the potentials which are there for our people and for the people of the region, for the betterment of lives of our people. And I also thank you for your call for genuine state-to-state cooperation in regional mechanisms that work. In our fight against terrorism, we need to use the same toolkit, whether we are confronting lone wolves, non-state actors, and concealed state actors that enable terrorism. Ladies and gentlemen, I belong to a generation that remember well a relatively peaceful Afghanistan, pre-1978, but more so, the period of instability that started with military coups, political upheaval, military aggression, resistance and jihad in defense of our values and identity, internal power strifes mixed with regional meddling, and finally, the emergence of the extremist terrorist outfits before the events of 9/11 in the United States, which catapulted Afghanistan back into global stage as a country in need of recovery and healing. 16 years later, we have invested a lot on the former and less on the latter. Our recovery from more than 2 decades of conflict and destruction and fragmentation has focused on state building and social economic development. Since 2002, we have benefited from generous assistances from the countries and multilateral organizations sitting around this table, to whom we are grateful, but it has been hampered by a combination of continued violence and, to put it simply, mismanagement. Afghanistan was in isolation prior the establishment of the interim government of Afghanistan in 2001. But in our 15 years journey, you have been together with us. You have contributed to the well-being of the people of Afghanistan with blood and treasure. And it's also time to remember those who lost their lives, men and women from our partner countries who were helping us to deal with the menace of terrorism, but at the same time helping us in rebuilding Afghanistan. As a result of your support, life of millions of Afghans have changed in different areas of life: education, health, in building infrastructure, in democratic process, human rights, women's rights, freedom of speech, vibrant media, empowering women, a very vibrant private sector, and also very vibrant civil society in younger generation, which are forward-looking. They sustain the pain from what is happening to them, but they are looking forward, and they are making efforts in trying to lay the foundation for a stable and prosperous and dignified Afghanistan, a future that this nation deserves. Hundreds of thousands of refugees have returned back, millions of them in the past few years. Last year, only 600,000 refugees from the neighboring countries We're grateful to the neighboring countries of Afghanistan for hosting Afghan refugees and Afghan return of the refugees, those who have learned skills, those who have been educated outside Afghanistan. They already are contributing to the economy and well-being of not only themselves, but their families. We also made efforts, the National Unity Government, but also prior to that, in establishing connectivity in the region. Our relations with the neighboring countries of Afghanistan, you are aware of it, we have discussed different aspects of it, I will not go into details of it. It is diverse in a way, but at the same time, our hope is that we would be able to seek cooperation from every single neighboring countries of Afghanistan, country neighboring to Afghanistan. That is in our interest, that is also to the interest of each country around us, surrounding us. We have no malintention against any country in this part of the world or any other part of the world. We only want to recover from decades of war and the impacts and consequence of war for our country, our economy, for our people. That's our quest. Our efforts are not against any single country. We can assure the countries, neighboring countries of Afghanistan, this has not been and will never be our intention. But at the same time, we deserve to be respected as an equal member of countries of the states of the nation, the United Nations, and our goodwill. We need some reciprocation. Our vision for the region is simple. We believe that stability will enable greater connectivity across the region in the development of integrated approaches to transport, energy, economics, and trade, in transit, generating prosperity in enhancing social, cultural, and political cohesion for all our nations. Our ability to deal with the threats which are common, and also our ability to utilize the opportunities which are for all. It's not just for us in this region. That depends on sincere, serious cooperation. That is, there is no alternative for that. We will be held responsible before our own citizens if we miss the opportunities. The opportunity is there. In today's event, today's get-together, I consider it a very important opportunity. And we hope that we will be able to build upon what has been achieved today towards a better future. We are also doing our best not to repeat past mistakes. We are not doing so well and have failed to meet our people's expectation. It's on providing adequate security to assure our people's safety and well-being. This is one area where we have no option but to do better and bring quick results. We need to put aside partisan and cliquish politics, mobilize the political class, develop a common objective and narrative, and stand together to counter the violent aims of our enemies. If we want to sustain our people's trust and support, this mobilization will need strategic rethink, political will, collaboration, and non-discrimination in words, action, and policy. Given the sensitivities involved, we also need to prioritize our actions and not to allow ourselves to be distracted by non-priority matters. We should also be tolerant of criticism and civil protests. The Afghan nation overall is frustrated, hurt, and angry. They have the constitutional right to express themselves through peaceful demonstrations and civic action. I, for one, will not take the fundamental right away, nor will ever accept, not allow anyone to hurt law-abiding citizens. This is why the tragedies of the past few days will need to be openly investigated. Our priority now has two sides. One, focus on the threat that we face, and two, to address the internal political critics who have positive and constructive recommendations to share in order to improve our security conditions, as well as other issues that are of priority concern. I invite all critics and representatives of political and social movements, intellectuals, religious scholars, civil society, tribal and community leaders, and others to engage in a constructive dialogue so we can identify specific areas of concern, gather recommendations that are practical and beneficial, and implement changes that will boost the security. If that means a change in personnel in high-ranking authorities, so be it. But let's not, as the expression goes, put the cart in front of the horse. We need to agree on an effective process to deal with the criticisms and recommendations. Let us prevent the enemy from distracting us from our duties or dividing us along artificial lines. Ladies and gentlemen, our ultimate objective is peace underlined by justice. It encompasses the principles of equality, pluralism, and inclusiveness as a foundation for national peace process. This requires a positive regional and international consensus. His Excellency President Ashraf Ghani has spoken at length about the terrorist threat and regional and global responsibilities. Part of this effort, whose command and control headquarters is located outside our borders, misuses Islam and provokes ethnic politics to recruit from hundreds of known extremist terrorists producing outlets beyond our territory and internally where the threat of government is weakest. The other part takes advantage of poverty, injustice, and bad governance to manipulate certain communities' legitimate discontent. A nexus of narcotics smuggling in Maniha is channeled through established networks to create an enabling environment for such activities. In our fight against terrorism, we need to commit to uprooting sanctuaries and dismantling support infrastructure. Most of these elements are external to Afghanistan. We need to do something about them before it is too late. Therefore, our efforts, bilateral or multilateral, at the core, need to be pragmatically centered on dealing with those externalities. Meanwhile, it's our collective responsibility as leaders of national unity government and political class to deliver on the domestic plank, supporting our brave security forces, fighting high-level corruption, providing a justice system that works, and putting people to work are a few of responsibilities that we need to tackle more seriously than ever before. It's there that I want to thank RS Resolute Support Mission in countries who have contributed in this, which is helping us in helping our security institutions in providing security for our citizens. As has been said, the role of donors and those who have graciously pledged at the Warsaw and Brussels conference to help us stand on our own feet is critical. Afghanistan Peace and Development Framework in Afghanistan's priorities were endorsed, and the international community made commitments in both conferences in terms of supporting our security institutions as well as helping us in reconstruction of Afghanistan. As top priorities for us, it's also holding elections, parliamentary and district level elections, as soon as possible, and presidential elections in 2019. Elections which will regain the trust of the people, which is waning because of the past experiences. And there, once again, I want to thank our international partners, UNAMA, the United Nations, in all countries involved in supporting us, achieving our goals and objectives there. The electronic ID, absolutely. I will tell you about the secret. Distribution of electronic ID is another priority for the National Unity Government. The work has started. And also administrative reform has started. But we have to admit that there is a growing gap between the people in the government because of the perceptions, partly because of the perceptions, but partly because of the things that we have to do. I am of the opinion that as one of the leaders in the unity government, we could have done better. We could have delivered better than what we have done. It's not weakness if we admit that we have not achieved what our peoples were expecting from us. But at the same time, I can assure our people there is no weakness in resolve in the unity government to address the needs of our people, the priorities of our people, and deliver in a better way. We are hopeful that Kabul process can create synergy needed that agree on a practical plan of action through consultation and cooperation. I want to thank all of you for participating, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, our young Deputy Foreign Minister Karzai, and his young and old colleagues. He has only recommended that please thank the young colleagues who has worked in preparations, but I went a little bit further than that. For their hard work and a successful arrangement, but I also seek your understanding for any shortcoming, if there were, and I know that you have come here to show solidarity, and that's very valuable. And our people are appreciative. We, as the leaders of the National Unity Government, we are grateful to you. I met with one of our distinguished colleagues participating in this conference here. He said that my wife asked me not to go to the conference to Kabul because of the events, tragic events, but also certain risks and dangers involved. But he also said that, my conscience asked me to go. And I thank all of you for showing that spirit today, and thank you for sharing your thoughts, and thank you also for not interrupting my long statement. See you somewhere, hopefully, in happier times. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.